Hello everyone and welcome back to the video. Today I'm going to be talking about the top 5 best low elo strategies in Age of Empires 2. Now I'm not going to go ahead and attach a number to low elo because honestly it could vary and people have been getting a lot better, so low elo keeps dropping the more time passes. But regardless what the number is, the assumption we're working with in this video is that both players are just as low elo, meaning it's not a guy that's turbo stomping from 2k and smurfing and killing like an 800, it's both 800 players going at it. And actually there you go, I just gave a number. Sorry about that. So yeah, it's both 800 ELOs or 600 ELOs going at it, meaning these strategies have to be easy to execute and really hard to stop. That's the definition of a strong low elo strategy. Also, these strategies are not necessarily good in high elo, but we don't care about that because we're playing in low elo today. Also, I have no proof or any numbers or any stats regarding these strategies. All I have is logic and just thinking about it a little bit more and some coaching sessions that I've watched over the years. So with all that said, let's go ahead and hop right in. Starting off at number 5, we've got a very easy all-in to execute. It's the Saracens, full archers, and feudal age with the market. I think this is a really easy strategy to execute and it's almost impossible to stop. So the idea is you get the feudal age as fast as you can, which again, depending on how low you go, this could be like 15 minutes, this could be 20 minutes, this could be 30 minutes. It doesn't matter. Just as fast as you can, get the feudal age, and then you go for 2, 3, 4 ranges, full archers with fletching, and use the market to balance your economy. Because you have the Saracen market that's so forgiving, you can literally have the worst economy possible, like 20 vils on gold, 10 vils on stone, and 10 vils on wood. It doesn't matter how your economy is set up, the market will solve all of your problems. Then by spamming a lot of archers, you can actually go ahead and put pressure on your opponent, and on top of everything, you can actually break through walls faster because of the Saracens team bonus, meaning you have a very nice all-in, getting to a strong and pretty easy to use unit like the archer, and feudal age at least, it gets harder to micro later on, but in feudal age is pretty easy to use, and you're going to be breaking through walls faster. You can also break through towers, which is probably going to be the main like low elo defense against archers if they're not walled or if you break through their walls. And so really the Saracen full archer ends up just being a really strong low elo strategy. Obviously, if you're up against a pro player and you try this, if you don't catch them off guard, you're probably going to lose to one range skirms, but we're probably not going to see one range skirms with both blacksmith upgrades prioritized. The opponent will probably panic to this and not have the best reaction, and most likely suffer too many losses to deal with it. Love the Saracen full archer play with the market in low elo. Definitely deserves a spot at number 5. Moving on to number 4, I had to mention the Goths. I think this is like the ultimate low elo civ, and especially Goths Huskroll plus Pikeman. I think this composition is actually just unstoppable. Like Goths Huskroll plus Halb is just a ridiculous combination. Like the thing is, infantry in general is really strong in low elo, and I've got one other infantry comp on the list, but I think the Goth Huskroll plus Pikeman comp or Huskroll plus Halb comp is ridiculous. Like you first of all have a really cheap unit, easy to spam units. Secondly, Huskroll hard counters all archer units, and Pikeman hard counters all cavalry units. And so the only option to defend this is like early game monks, which are impossible to use at low elo, and siege, which is very hard to use at low elo, and scorpions, like heavy scorpions, aren't that good, so you need to rely on siege onagers and attack ground. And again, that's horrendous. That's going to be very hard to do. It's not going to end well for the siege onager player, usually up against the Goth spam. I mean, that's hard to do at high elo to attack ground Goth spam, but at low elo I can imagine it's almost just impossible. And so I think the Goths Huskroll straight from Castle Age into Pikeman into Halb, Huskroll, and Imp is probably just one of those comps that doesn't get stopped often. I can imagine that the low elo counter would be champions, because hand cannoneer probably don't cut it, because the Huskroll can just run at the hand cannoneer, and if you don't micro them well, if you don't meat shield for them, they actually die. So I think the only counter would be champion, and then if the guy goes champion, then the Goth player just goes champion, because Goth player is like already teched into infantry, and then the Goth player will out spam. So I really don't know how low elo players are stopping Huskroll Pikeman comps. Let me know in the comments if you guys are low elo and you're stopping this, but like put your elo and put how you stop it, but I just don't really find a solution for you guys. Definitely think this comp is ridiculous. Moving on to number 3, we've got a strategy that probably works very well in high elo as well, but I think it is an absolute turbo stomp strategy in lower elos, and that is the 2 in tower rush strat. It's so easy to execute. You go up to feudal as fast as possible, send 10 vils forward, and your opponent just has a nightmare to react to. He has to perfectly react to your first tower, and if he doesn't, you will win every single tower war. You will absolutely destroy him if he tries to fight underneath your tower or around your tower, and if you get the Castle Age, you get murder holes for free, which is just the best tech in in low elo. Let's be honest here. Murder holes is crazy. It's just like broken. And you're gonna have all these towers up and they have murder holes. They can garrison 10 vills. It just gets so nasty. Even at high elo, 2 in tower rush is super dangerous. But I think in low elo, if you don't have the right reaction, you will get so stomped by it. And honestly, it's not that hard to do, which is the number one factor that makes it so strong in low elo. Easy to do, really hard to stop. Moving on to number 2, we've got a strategy that I personally dislike because I also think that the strategy is pretty good in high elo, and it really does feel unfair because the unit you're using is just by nature a little unfair. And the way you're getting there is also a little unfair. And it's the fast castle step lances with the Mongols. And usually this involves them stealing your boar in Dark Age. So that makes things a little bit harder. But even if we take away the boar stealing, because in low elo we don't expect boar stealing, we just expect a fast castle, which usually goes unpunished because Mongols have a really fast castle setup, like pretty easy to do, and usually it's really hard to punish fast castle builds because you guys are, I say you guys, it could be me too, anyone anyone low elo, if you happen to find yourself in low elo, you could have trouble to pressure fast. Okay, this is something I've noticed. You have units being made but not sent forward right away, and so fast castle strategies tend to go unpunished. And if you get the step lances unpunished with the Mongols, they have a ton of HP, they're really easy to spam, they stack nicely, and they destroy bases. They destroy walls, they destroy all feudal age units, they destroy villagers, they destroy buildings, they destroy everything. So I think this strategy, especially when combined with laming, is absolutely busted in lower elo. And even without the laming, even if we forego that, I still think the Mongol step lancer is absolutely crazy as a strategy, and it works best when you go directly for it. So fast castle straight into it, but it works just as well if you go like scouts into step lancer. It just gives your opponent a little bit more time to win or to react to it. Before I show you guys my number 1, I have one honorable mention that just has to get talked about. And this is like very generic. So I have written down any kind of forward castle equals mental boom. I think forward castles are absolutely broken in low elo. Like you literally just send 20 vills, like out of context, like in any situation, just send 20 vills, drop a castle anywhere in your opponent's base. If he doesn't react absolutely perfectly, the castle will go up because you sent literally 20 vills, and they just don't know how to deal with a forward castle. Like a forward castle naturally is very hard to deal with because battering rams are kind of terrible in Castle Age, and other units just don't really do well against castles. And if you just drop a castle in a really important location, they're gonna tunnel vision on that castle, they're gonna panic to that castle, and they're gonna feel like they're losing the game because you have that castle in front of their base. Any kind of castle, regardless if you have a strong unique unit, regardless of the circumstances, will be insane in low elo, and I think it's an amazing strat to go for. More often than not, forward castle means win game. I've seen it so often in coaching. Forward castle is probably the hardest thing that low elo players have to react to, and usually they end up dying to it. Quite sad actually, but that's the honorable mention, and I think it's very worthy of that position. Alright, moving on to number 1, the moment we've all been waiting for. What I consider to be the best low elo strategy in all of Age of Empires 2, and I'll give you my full reasoning. And it's Roman's full infantry, and you can start from feudal age or you can do it from any point in the game. I think Roman full infantry is absolutely disgusting, and we'll talk about it from feudal age. So first off, you guys have to understand something. Infantry actually has just no counter because archers, you have to be microed properly, and melee units, like if the guy goes knights, you can go pikes, right? But if the guy goes longswords, what do you go for? You know what I mean? There's no melee unit that counters longswords that's generic. You can go Teutonic Knights, obviously, but it's hard to come up with a melee unit that counters it that's a generic unit. And so crossbows have to be microed well. It's really hard to do that. Now, if you combine those ideas with Romans getting double armor upgrades, so now it's way harder to micro archers against it. It's way harder to deal with them with other melee units. That's when you get an insane composition. And yes, the downside of Romans is that their units are expensive, but because in low elo they float so much res, it literally doesn't matter how expensive the unit is. You can just make them and you'll have time to make it. And because it's so strong, it's gonna overwhelm your opponent like crazy. And so I think the logical counter to the Romans would probably just be like Scorpions in low elo, but even those aren't that great, especially if you mix in a couple Knights or a couple Centurions, which the Roman player is already incentivized to mix in. And so the Romans full infantry, be it meta arms from feudal age with the armor upgrade or longsword, pike, and castle, any kind of full infantry play will get so much value. You can literally just send them under enemy TC ADCs, and because of the really high pierce armor, you're gonna get so much value out of it. It's kind of similar to Malians, but Malians only get the extra pierce armor and they don't have the best infantry in late game, meaning Romans are just simply way better because they get both melee armor and extra pierce armor, and they have insane infantry in Imperial Age. If you get their Legionary with Centurion, absolutely disgusting composition, almost has no counter, maybe Hand Cannoneer, but again, the problem with Hand Cannoneer is that number one, you have to get there, and number two, not every civ gets it. Well, that's going to do it for my list of top 5 best low elo strategies in Age of Empires 2. If I got anything wrong, remember, I don't play that much in low elo. Like I've played a few games here and there, like some team games for fun. I sometimes get into low elo lobbies, and I've watched a decent amount either through like games of my subscribers or my viewers, or just like coaching that I do here and there. If I'm wrong on any of this, or if I missed a strategy, do let me know in the comments below. This video is not necessarily like a guide on how to get out of low elo. It's kind of just like a fun video, and I hope you guys can treat it as such. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys did enjoy this one. Let me know what you guys want to see more from my top 5 series, and yeah, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. If you want more content, check out my Twitch. If you want to get better, check out my Patreon. Both links in the description below. And that's it for me. Thanks for watching, and peace.